Hi, Vanessa Golightly here from Ray White Real Estate. I'm here today with Kate, who's looking at buying her first home, and I'm just here to help her out with some of the questions and a bit of guidance. So we were just going to talk about submitting an offer.
Yes, which I have no idea about. What can I expect? What is the process?
Yeah.
And what are the conditions of the offer?
Yeah. No, and it's a good question because you're spending a lot of money, and once you've signed the contract, it is legally binding. So, yeah, a couple of things you need to do first. I am just absolutely blown away sometimes by the amount of people I meet who don't have a lawyer. So, yeah.
Getting one?
Yeah. Not having a lawyer, okay, it's fine. You probably don't think about it till you put an offer in, but some of the larger firms, if you ring them up and say, I'm looking at buying a house, can I get in contact with someone? We'll put you onto the lawyer who will be dealing with you and processing your contract.
Okay.
If you're looking at buying something, especially if it's your first home, it can be well worth ringing your lawyer first and saying, I'm going to put an offer in this property. Is there anything that you think I should be looking for and need to look for? Quite often their advice is free. Again, be open in front and say, can I just ask what your charges are? I mean, my lawyer, for example, would look through an auction pack for me if we were looking at bidding, and that would probably be free of charge.
Right.
But it varies from firms. But hey, look, paying your lawyer $50 or $80 to check something for you before you put an offer in versus putting an offer in, getting stuck with the property where you think, oh, I saved myself $50, but now I've spent thousands and something I should have really checked out first. So, number one, before you put an offer in, check your lawyer. If you're not sure who to use, ask around friends and family. Or the other thing is I always recommend to use a big reputable firm. So, for example, we personally use Harmons. Not that I'm, use who you want, but the reason I enjoy using a big firm like that is I can do everything. So, we've done wills, we can do looking over contracts, own a business, so they can do give me advice on looking at that, and also conveyancing as well. So if you do have choosing a lawyer, if you go with a bigger firm, they can offer you those things. Some people prefer the small boutique firms or using who their mum and dad use, for example, as well. So just get someone for a start. In regards to putting an offer, we'll do another wee series in regards to deadline sale and auction and things like that. We'll do another clip on that. But say you're coming to the point of putting in an offer. So you ring the agent and say, look, I really like it. I want to submit an offer. Can we go for it? You make a time to meet up with them. They'll bring the sale and purchase agreement with them. So before you meet with them, these are the things you need to think about. Everyone always just talks about what they want to offer, and then they get there and I ask them heaps of questions about their conditions and they go, oh, I hadn't even really thought about that. So a couple of things to think about before you get there. Settlement date. When did you want to take the property over? If you're using your welcome home loan, just be aware, I think they recommend 30 days for settlement because it takes that amount of time from when you've bought it to transfer the money through and get it there for settlement. So just backtracking a wee bit too. So confirmation of a contract, because this is again terminology. Confirmation is when your lawyer's checked all the documents, looked at the LIM, you've approved your finance. Usually 10 working days is standard. So confirmation is, yep, everyone's happy with everything, finance is approved, lawyer's happy, you are now officially the owner of your new property. Settlement is the time between, after you've confirmed, when you actually pay the balance and get the keys.
Awesome.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So think about your settlement date. So work in, if you want 10 working days for your conditions, work that out, and then how far from confirmation do you want to settle? If you're in a tenancy, for example, you need to check how much notice you need to give your landlord.
Yeah.
If you're using your welcome home loan or KiwiSaver, just check with them first how long it needs to take. Because if you do a week and leave yourself short, if you fail to settle, you have to ask for an extension. It's penalty interest.
Right.
So have a think about that.
Definitely.
Also, if the property you're purchasing has got tenants in it, you need to figure out the situation with the tenancy. If you want vacant possession, then the agent needs to make sure that there's enough time for settlement for the tenants to be given notice, vacate, and a bond inspection and things taking place. If it's a periodic tenancy, you're looking at 6 weeks from confirmation plus a couple of days for bond inspection. If it's a fixed term, unless the tenants have agreed with the landlord otherwise, basically you won't be able to move until after the fixed term tenancy ends. And if you want vacant possession, don't settle until after the tenancy ends and say you want vacant possession, otherwise you'll end up taking over the tenancy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. If you're going to put an offer in on anything with a rental or tenants in it, feel free to give me a call.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone else too, that's fine. Okay, cool. So settlement date. The amount of your deposit. A lot of people have confusion about what a deposit is for in a contract. So the deposit's to show your commitment to the contract. It's the down payment you make that holds you to the contract between confirmation and settlement. So if you confirm, pay your deposit, and then fail to settle, the sellers get to keep the deposit as confirmation. I think in my whole career, I know of maybe 3 properties that failed to settle, and I've never had it happen to me in 10 years. So very rarely happens, but yeah. So again, the deposit is, shows commitment to the contract. It also is a good indication for the sellers about how much of a confident buyer you are, and if you have got a finance clause in there but you have got a good cash deposit, then that gives them a bit more confidence as well. Occasionally I've had people say, can we put a $2,000 deposit down? Well, that doesn't really scream confidence to the the owners as well, especially if you've got a finance condition. So 10% is standard of the purchase price for deposit, but it doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be a good chunk of amount, 20 or 30 grand, something like that. And you can either pay it, and the agent will ask you this, on confirmation or on acceptance.
Okay.
So acceptance is, if you and I wrote an offer on a property tonight and it got accepted, you'd pay the deposit tomorrow. If you put it on confirmation, it's at the end of the 10 days when the lawyer says yes. Okay. And a lot of people go, well, why have we paid on acceptance when we don't know if we've got it yet? If you if you don't buy the property, if you don't, something happens with the limb or whatever and the lawyer says no, you get your deposit back if you've already paid it. Most people will choose to pay on confirmation. I would pay an acceptance, especially in a competitive situation. So if it's a multi-offer, if the purchasers can see that you're keen to pay your deposit and you're happy to pay it tomorrow, again, it just gives you that sort of...
They're less likely to go to someone else, are they?
Yeah, well, they just go, well, she's pretty confident. She's ready to pay a deposit tomorrow. Sounds like she's, pretty solid buyer. But other people say, well, we prefer it in our account for 2 weeks earning interest. We'll pay it on confirmation. So just have a think about that.
Yeah.
Can be a little bit of a... I've even seen people write out cheques and attach them with their sale and purchase agreement to show their deposit there and then.
Okay,
So,
wow.
yeah. Although it shouldn't really be a personal cheque, it should be a bank cheque. But anyway, it's another story.
Jesus cheeks.
Yeah. So that's deposit, settlement date. So, yeah, there's 2 things you probably haven't even thought about. Standard conditions. So, limb and title, solicitor's approval. Limb can take 10 days to order from the council, or up to 10 days. So make sure if it's not supplied by the seller and you want a limb, you put 10 working days in for the lawyer to check the limb, the title, finance condition, 10 working days.
Okay.
Building report. Obviously your choice if you want to get a building report. I would on any property.
I think my bank means I have to.
Yeah, and your insurance company as well,
Yeah.
or the insurance you want to take over will probably want to see a building report as well.
Yeah,
so
I don't think they'll accept my mortgage for that.
Cool. Okay, yeah. But they're well worth done.
Yeah.
And if anything, if you're buying an old house as well, if you get a building report done, don't be surprised if some stuff comes up.
Course,
not every house is going to be perfect. So there's going to be a few things. But what it does too is a building report helps with any future planned maintenance. So if you get a building report and he says, the insulation looks like it's settled quite a bit and it might be a bit old, then you'll go, oh, cool, okay, I know that probably next winter I need to save up and do some insulation. So it's really good for, knowing more about the property than what you would from just looking around it and having a bit of a maintenance plan as well. If anything hairy scary comes up in the building report that you weren't aware of, like a big thing, most agents will put a right to remedy clause in, which means the sellers have the option, if you go to them and say, hey, this major thing came up, that needs fixed, the vendors then have the choice. They can say, well, we'll fix it before settlement, or we'll reduce the asking price by enough for you to repair that. Don't get silly, they're not going to start fixing wobbly door handles and all those sorts of things. So it's more just if something major comes up. Not all agents put that into their contract, but I definitely do. And sometimes it's just about communication as well, if there's something in the building report. And a lot of the time the sellers didn't know. They'll be like, oh, well, we didn't know, we hadn't been there sealing and didn't realise that was wrong with the hot water cylinder or whatever, and they'll go, yeah, fine, we'll fix it, or we'll get a quote to fix it and take the money off the settlements. So
okay, awesome.
Yeah, cool. So building report.
Yeah.
And again, 10 working days is standard.
Right.
Sometimes they'll be supplied. If they are supplied, you're still welcome to get your own independent one done too. Up to you. Then EQC related or extra clauses we need in Christchurch. So if you're not in Christchurch, this probably won't relate to you, but insurance. So subject to you obtaining insurance for the property.
Yep.
It's pretty good these days, but just make sure that you do have that clause in there. Should be fine. And also we use an EQC an insurance claims information condition, which gives your lawyer 10 working days to check all the EQC and private insurer information, and the vendors sign it saying that they'll give you all the information they have, plus authorise you to call EQC and check the account.
Okay.
Double check that the offer you're putting in, the agent is using that condition. Not all of them do, I don't think. They're supposed to. There's standard conditions for Christchurch now, but just be aware of that. And then, I mean, because again, you don't work for EQC, a lot of the reports and scopes and things are quite technical, so have that clause in there and your lawyer can check all of that. And then the other clause that will go in there is the assignment of claims clause. What happens when you buy a house, if it's had EQC claims, they get essentially transferred with the house. So the claims stay with the house. So the clause in there will be like assignment of settled claims, or if the claim's still open and you're waiting to get fixed or you'll get some money, it'll be the assignment of claims clause and you'll get the benefits from that, or it'll be assignment of settled claims, which is the work's all done so you get no benefit and that gets transferred through. Gets a bit technical again, make sure it's in there and your lawyer's double checking it. If there's money being paid out and the work hasn't been done, the agent should have that written in the contract and make you fully aware that this work hasn't been done and you won't be getting the money, and your bank will probably be quite interested in knowing that as well, and it may cause some issues, but again, it comes down to each sort of individual property. Okay, so to summarise what you need to put in your offer. Okay, so deposit amount, and if you want to pay it on acceptance or confirmation. Settlement date, when you want to take over the property. Conditions: finance, building report, limb, title, insurance. The assignment of claims clause, so whether they're open EQC claims, closed EQC claims, that needs to go in there as well. The 10-day condition for your lawyer to check all the EQC and insurance claims information, and it should include a note in there about the owners giving you all the information they have and allowing you to check the EQC file as well if you want to be authorised on the account. And your lawyer's details. Make sure you know who your lawyer is, and just double check that there's not any other sort of conditions they want to put in related to that. But that's generally what you'll need to include in your contract. Okay. Hopefully the agent will talk you through the contract as they go, and they should give you a copy of the contract. If not there, then as soon as they get back to the office, they should be able to scan it back to you. I often meet clients at the office for the convenience of having the photocopier and things, and I can give you a copy right there and then. So you are also well within your rights to write up the contract and have your lawyer look at it before it's presented to the sellers. Just be aware of timeframes. Okay. Some people say no because they don't want to pay their lawyer to do that. But if you think it's a bit funny, or it's a cross lease with a weird title, or there's something going on with the EQC information, say, I'll come in and write up the contract, but can you scan it to me and I'll send it to my lawyer to look at it before it's presented, and then your lawyer may make some suggestions, but at least it's done before it's a legally binding contract.
Yeah. Okay, cool.